This is Teresa with My Crochet Obsession, and today I want to show you how I crochet the retro daisy flower. Now, you may be familiar with my retro daisy square, but this is only the flower. And if you've been following along with the 30 Days of Flowers, you'll know that I'm using worsted 4-weight yarn with a 5mm crochet hook. If you've been following along with me in the 30 Days of Flowers, you're going to notice right away that this flower uses several of the techniques that we've learned in other flowers. This flower is so much fun to make. Once I get started, it's hard for me to stop making them. Well, enough talk. Let's get started. For this retro flower power daisy, I strongly recommend that you choose 2 bright colors, one for the flower center and one for the petals. To begin, using your preferred method, form a ring and chain 3. And this counts as your first double crochet. And into the ring, crochet 11 double crochet for a total of 12 stitches. One of my most recent joys is making the tutorials in the 30 Days of Flowers. If you've been crocheting right along with me, I hope you will subscribe. And if you like daisies as much as I do, please like this video tutorial by activating the thumbs up button. Thank you for your support. Before you close the ring completely and slip stitch to join your stitches, double count, make sure you have 12 and 12. And before you close the ring, into the top of your chain up of 3, insert the hook and then close the ring completely. The reason I do that is so that I be sure and find that ring. Sometimes after we close the ring first and then try to slip stitch to join, that stitch gets pulled down and it's less visible. And then I'm going to pull up a loop and turn my flower center over and insert my hook from what was the back, it's now the front, and pull that loop through to join. And then I'm going to chain 1 and pull up a loop, flip the yarn, and pull that knot back to the back. And the flower center is complete. Here's the way it looks on the front and on the back. Notice that with this center, that by using the double crochet stitches on the front, you have 1 loop visible. Turn it over, and on the back, you have 2 loops visible. Those are the 2 loops that we will be using in the rest of our flower to add the petals. We're going to go in back loops only, but we're going to go into 2 of the back loops. Let's continue and add the petals, and into any of those 2 loops of the back loops of the flower center from the double crochets. Attach your yarn in your preferred method. I'll be using a standing single crochet. And then chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then in the 3rd chain from the hook, slip stitch. And single crochet in all the remaining chains. There should be 4. And into the next stitch, the 2 back loops, insert the hook and pull up a loop and single crochet. Into the next 2 back loops, insert the hook, pull up a loop and single crochet again. Chain 7. And in the 3rd chain from the hook, insert the hook into one side of the chain, just 1 loop, and slip stitch. Into the next 4 chains, single crochet. I apologize for all of the background noise. I'm still having renovations done to my home, but the 30 Days of Flowers must go on. Back at the center of the flower, into the next stitch, insert the hook into the 2 back loops, pull up a loop, and single crochet. And into the next stitch, do the same. 2 back loops, single crochet. And just as before, chain 7. In the 3rd chain from the hook, insert the hook into the 1 loop of the chain and slip stitch and single crochet in the next 4 stitches. Chains. Next 4 chains. They're stitches. I don't know why we distinguish the chains from other stitches, because they're a stitch. All right, there's our 4th one. And just like we did on the other petals, insert the hook into the back 2 loops of the next stitch, single crochet, and single crochet into the next stitch. And that's where that join is. It's going to be a little bit tight. If you can only get into 1 stitch in your join, then just go into 1. I think I can get into 2. I'm going to have to force him, but I can do it. There we go. All right. Pull up a loop and single crochet. Now chain 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And in the 3rd chain from the hook, slip stitch in 1 loop and single crochet in each of the next 4 chains. And just like before, into the back 2 loops of the next stitch, single crochet, and repeat that again. In the back 2 loops, single crochet. And that completes the pattern repeat for the 4th petal. Continue the pattern repeat until you have a total of 6 petals. And this is the way the work looks. And if your base stitches for your petals are real curly like this, that's the way it does at this point. But when it gets done, it's going to look just like this one, except in pink. All right, here we go. Next stitch. Now it's important to find the actual stitch, the chain stitch, and not this single crochet where we started the base round of the petal. You want to go into 1 loop of the side of the chain with a single crochet. In the next stitch, into 1 loop, half double crochet. In the next stitch is a double crochet into that 1 loop on the side. The next stitch is a double crochet. Now, the next stitches, there's going to be 6 of them. They're going to go into that picot that we made at the end of our chain, where we chained up 7 and then we went back and slip stitched into the 3rd chain from the hook. That leaves us 3 stitches. There's one right here, and then right here. Okay, and in the one loop, just one loop of those stitches. If we go into both loops, it pulls that stitch open so much. We're going to come back with some surface crochet at the end anyway, but we don't need the holes very large where we can't even cover them with the surface crochet. So into that one loop of the next stitch, make sure and get all the yarn plies, 2 double crochet. We're coming around the corner, forming the rounded part of the end of the petal. Into the next single loop, 2 double crochet. And into the next single loop, 2 double crochet. And into the next loop, the one loop, double crochet, and repeat again in the next stitch, double crochet, in the next stitch a half double crochet, and in the next stitch a single crochet. And your first petal is complete. Now, as I said, don't worry about these holes here. We're going to come back with surface crochet and go all the way around this flower and come back and do the same thing to the next petal. And also, not only does it camouflage those holes, but it also gives some rigidity to the petals where they will lay back and not constantly curl up. A little curl is nice though. All right, let's continue. Slip stitch into both loops. Not too tight. Watch your tension. You want that slip stitch to join there, to join the petal, to just be invisible, not pull open and create another hole. That's what happens if you go into the one loop. Okay, now on this next petal, again, it's not this first single crochet, but it's the next loop right here where we want a single crochet to start this petal. And half double crochet into the next petal. Chain. Double crochet in the next 2 chains. In the next chain, 2 double crochet. So we need a double crochet increase in the next 3 chains. Just in the one loop. And double crochet into that one back loop of the next 2 chains, next 2 single crochet, and a half double crochet into the back loop of the next single crochet, and single crochet into the back loop. And into this single crochet right here, slip stitch, not too tight, And the second petal is complete. Let's continue one more, and then I'm going to leave you to finish it on your own. I hope you're crocheting right along with me. All right, we're avoiding the double crochet. We're going right into this next loop, that one loop, and single crochet. Into the next loop, half double crochet. Double crochet in the next two loops. Double crochet increase in the next 3 chains, just the one loop. It takes 6 stitches to come around. All right, and double crochet into the next 2 back loops from the previous row. Half double crochet into the next back loop. Single crochet into the last back loop and slip stitch into the single crochet that's around the flower center. And that is the third petal complete. I will join back up with you when I've completed all of my petals. And I've completed putting on all of my petals, and this is the final single crochet of the last petal. Now I'm going to slip stitch into the next petal, into that first space before the single crochet. All I'm doing is trying to move my yarn and my hook over to the center of the flower, because these open spaces right here in the middle of the flower right here is where we're going to do surface crochet and camouflage those holes. And the way we do that is we insert the hook into the next hole. Just insert the hook into there and pull up a loop and slip stitch all the way up into the next hole. Insert the hook and pull up a loop and slip stitch. This is called surface crochet. Slip stitch all the way up to the very top little hole. And that's where the turning chain is. And then I'm going to come back into, there's not actually holes here, but that's where I will come back down and come around to go to and camouflage the holes in the next stitch. So I turn now to the next stitch coming on the other side and pull up a loop and slip stitch again, and into the next stitch and pull up a loop and slip stitch, into the next stitch, pull up a loop and slip stitch, and down into, now there is a hole right at the bottom, so go into that hole and slip stitch. Now I'm back at my flower center, but I'm not going to go into the center, the yellow part at all, but I will slip stitch into the space between the 2 single crochets, slip stitch there, and then slip stitch into that space right before the single crochet on the petal, and then start going into those holes that are up the middle of the petal, just like on the other one. Now, if you want to be really exact, you can count how many stitches you're going up and make sure you're coming down the same amount. But I really don't do that. I just insert the hook into a hole when I see it. And sometimes it's right next to it and slip stitch. I just insert it, find a hole, and insert the hook into there. Okay? And then down the next side. So I turn the work and come down the next side. And as I said, on the other side, there's really not any holes. We're just moving the yarn down so we can get to the next petal. But I like the effect this has. It's a nice treatment. In fact, this surface crochet could even be done in a contrasting color or a coordinating color. It just doesn't have to be the same color. I could, on this pink one, I could come in with a light pink, a baby pink, or a red, or cranberry, or purple, any of those colors to make a different look. Now I'm over to my next petal. Those are the two that are completed. And then these remain. Really, this particular yarn isn't that bad about the holes, but like this orange yarn, when I made it, the holes were huge. But it's just the yarn, because I used the exact same size crochet hook. In fact, it was the same one. So you can be your own judge on your flower. If you don't have large holes that need to be camouflaged, you don't have to do this step. But I kind of like how rigid and that it makes the flowers. And it also gives an extra place whenever you use them as an applique to attach to something else. This is cute on a headband, a hat. Well, it gives you a little bit extra place in the back. It gives you some extra stitches back there to attach to. And that's all there is to surface crochet. You can, in applying this same method to other projects, you can meander around a surface in any direction that you want to go and make different designs. If you're really careful, you can actually write words and everything with this method, but it's something you may want to try, but I'll just warn you ahead of time, it takes some practice to perfect. I will join up with you when I've completed all of my surface crochet. I'm to where I started, and I'm going to pull up a really long loop and clip the yarn, and then thread my yarn needle and take it to the back, because I don't want it to, I don't want to form another stitch there necessarily. I just need to end this off. So I'm going to come around, and the other yarn end is at the same place. So I actually tie this in a square knot. Not too tight, but just snug. And then I still weave the yarn in with my yarn needle. I'll take care of that and be right back. And this is how I crochet the Retro Flower Power Daisy. These so much remind me of the flowers I drew all over my book covers whenever I was in high school. Take a look at the 3 retro flower power daisies that I've made. I wanted to show you the difference between the daisies with the surface crochet and the ones without the surface crochet. Let's take a closer look. But this one, I did not put the surface crochet that's here on the top that we put in the tutorial. I didn't put it because I wanted you to look carefully at the difference. And you may not want to have that surface crochet. And there you have it, the Retro Daisy 6-petal flower. And once I start making these, it's really hard for me to stop. I really like to make this flower because I really like the end result. I like both of them with either the surface crochet or without, but like I said in the tutorial, sometimes the holes seem really large depending on the yarn. I don't really know what exactly that is that causes that, but this one really isn't that bad. It doesn't bother me. But nonetheless, I hope you enjoyed this tutorial today. I'm thoroughly enjoying the 30 Days of Flowers. And if you're enjoying them also, I'd ask that you give me a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel, activating that notification bell so that you'll know when I put up a new tutorial. And until I see you again, keep calm and crochet on.